Good morning, students, and welcome back for the third unit of research methodology. And today we'll be starting the unit named as questionnaire design and schedule. So let's look into the highlights, like what all we'll be covering under this unit. The first would be concept of questionnaire and schedule, which will tell you what is a questionnaire, what is a schedule, what are the differences between questionnaire and schedule, and what are the advantages and disadvantages of both the things. Then what are the principles that you should keep in mind while designing a questionnaire or while designing a schedule? Then what are the limitations of questionnaire? And then how to check the reliability and validity of questionnaire. So let's move on. Basically, questionnaire was basically it is a research instrument to collect the responses of the respondents, and it is just to gather information from the respondents, and it was first developed or invented, you can say, by the Statistical Society of London in 1838. Sorry. Generally they are designed, means these questionnaires are designed for the statistical analysis, means what all responses you are gathering from respondents, try to keep them in the form of numbers so that in further study they can be used for any statistical analysis. But this is not always the case. Sometimes there are open-ended questions also in which you can write whatever you want. But in general, 90% of the questionnaires in a questionnaire should be response based. Out of the following responses, you need to choose one response, and all those responses have some numerical value. Now, what are the advantages of questionnaire as compared to other methods of collecting response like survey, interviews, or you can say video conferencing? Questionnaires are generally economic and they do not require that much effort by the researcher in order to take the responses from numerous respondents as in telephone survey. And the formulation of questionnaire becomes easy when you standardize the data and try to compile. If you're having questionnaires, it becomes very easy for a respondent to compile it. For example, if you're going for a telephonic conference, then you would not be able to make an individual understand what you're trying to ask in a better way as compared to making him understand with the help of a questionnaire. And these standardized answer, they do frustrate users. I do agree that if you're having a lengthy questionnaires, they do frustrate the users, but it should be sharply limited to the respondents, that they should be reading those questions and respond to them in the manner that you want the respondent should respond. Then while detecting the demographic characteristics of an individual, survey questionnaire might not be a good research. So it also depends upon which type of population you're targeting and what you're trying to deduce from the questionnaire. Then this is a plot chart, you can say, to detect how do we collect the data and how do we design a questionnaire. So first of all, we do a pilot study, like sorry, this is a step one: purpose and goals, objectives. First you need to decide what is the purpose of your research, what are the goals that you need to achieve while conducting this research, and what is the research hypothesis. On the basis of that, you generate some questions and statements that you want the respondent should respond to. Then you should have knowledge, attitude, perception, opinion about those questions. In order to gain some perceptions and opinions, you can go for past research, you can read theory behind a particular phenomena, and then you should choose the appropriate scale of measurement. That also will come under this heading, like what are different variables and how to choose the scale of measurement. Then you need to choose the format of the questionnaire. Then in the fourth step, you go for reliability analysis, field test, then IRDB, it is not in your course although. Then readability, is an individual able to read what you're trying to do? Panel of the experts should be there, those who will justify that whether the questionnaire that you have formulated is right or not. And then finally you go for the reliability of the pilot study, then you run the alpha revision test, or you can say even Cronbach alpha test, and then it is ready for mailing to the respondent. So we'll study it one by one, but restricting to the syllabus of a course. So let's move on further. Well, now, what are the principles while designing a questionnaire? First of all, you should keep in mind the flow of the questionnaire. If you're asking questions related to personal attitude, then first ask all the questions related to personal attitude and then move on to second step. If you're asking one question related to personal, like what is your name, then you're asking about his perception, why do you go to market, what all things you buy, then again you're asking the age, then again you're asking some other question, then coming to the phone number. This should not happen. This is not a correct way. If you're asking first the personal details, then ask everything related to the personal details, and then only jump to those questions that are related to your research. And as I've already told you that long questionnaires confuses the users or the respondents. Even when you're filling a long questionnaire and it is not ending, not ending, not ending, you keep on filling. At a particular point of time, the respondent loses their interest, and then the responses that he or she is giving to you might not be 100% accurate according to the user. So whenever you are formulating a questionnaire, it should be simple and short. And be neutral in questionnaire. What does this question means? That for example, you want to know which political party will win the next election. So this should be the question only. Which political party do you think will formulate the government in the next election? Don't ask it whether BJP will formulate. So here, you are restricting your questionnaire specifically towards BJP. You're not neutral in questionnaire. Why you're asking with respect to BJP? Why can't it be in respect to Congress? So that whenever you are questioning whenever you are formulating any question for a respondent, then the question should be neutral. Avoid double-barreled questions. For example, a double-barreled question would be, do you like tea or coffee? Don't you? Or do you like drinking tea? Don't you? Now, what does it mean? If you look towards the first part of the question, do you like tea? And let's say the respondent likes tea. It can be yes also. And the other part is don't you? So it can be no also. This is a double barrel question. Getting it? Do you like my product? Now, an individual might be loving your product because it is economic, but it is not qualityful. How he should, answer now this question? So the question should be when specifically you are talking about any particular thing, you should specify that thing, that in terms of usability, do you like a product? In terms of price, how would you rate your product? How would you rate our product in terms of value addition? How would you rate your product? So be specific while asking the questions, otherwise the questions will automatically get converted to a double barrel questions. Then don't assume respondents are experts. Do not use very hi-fi or an ornamental English. And if you require an expertise, then the whole population should be expert. For example, you're going to a normal individual and asking him, okay, what are your opinion about GST? Now, an individual who is running a business or who is an expert of finance might answer you correctly. But an individual who's not having that much amount of income and having a small shop in a small village, do you think he will explain you everything about GST? Not at all. Getting it? Many times I've seen, individuals doing research on students because it is easier to find and track students in universities and school. but their questions are so complicated, like what changes you might suggest in our education policy. Now, my dear, in order to suggest any changes in an education policy, a student might not be the correct respondent. So here you are assuming a student to be an expert of education who is himself pursuing his education, and you are asking him about his or her opinion. That would be a biased research. Then avoid negative or double negative questions. Again, this is somewhat related to double barrel questions where the respondent is not able to specify what you're trying to ask. But here, my dear, negative or double negative questions are, again, do you, don't you are using everything. For example, my dear, many times what happens is that double negative questions are, suppose you have asked the respondent that what do you like among the two, tea or coffee? So he says coffee. Now you're again saying, on a scale of 10, rate coffee, and on a scale of 10, rate tea. Here, if he rates tea higher than coffee, then now which response is incorrect? The first question or this question? So that is again a negative or a double negative question. Avoid asking questions which is beyond the respondent's capability, cognition, and knowledge. You know, to an individual or a graduate student who's himself pursuing graduation. Let's say you're conducting a research on students of undergraduation, and you're asking them about foreign exchange, foreign research, FDI, FII. So it is beyond their capabilities, though they will study it, but not that much deep that they would be able to answer you know correctly regarding FDI and FII. Avoid false and unrealistic scenarios. In research, see, research should be ethical in nature. It should be for social benefit. So do not ask questions like you might be asking an imaginary essay topic. Like, what would you do if you become the Prime Minister of India for a day? Well, yeah, probably unrealistic situation for an individual who is just not 19, 20, or 21. Then avoid using multiple scales. Be consistent. Although there is no problem, but in reliability and in validity, we will study. What is the problem when you use multiple scales? Like if you are asking, jotting responses on a scale of 5, then all the questions should be on a scale of 5. So try to follow that. See. Then the flow of the questionnaire. When we're talking about the flow of the questionnaire, although I have already told you that it should be in a streamlined flow, try to follow all the patterns. If you are jotting any responses related to the approach of an individual, so first try to fill all those approaches, then only proceed towards personal details of the respondent. Then obviously a questionnaire should be short and simple, neutral in questionnaire. I've given some questions that many people watched India versus Pakistan T20 Cricket World Cup 2016. How many match ever watched in last one decade? Have you watched this match? So probably you have asked for some other question. Then you're already asking about India Pakistan. In a way, you are supporting India. So that should not happen. Then double barrel question. How satisfied you are with the performance of the Indian batsman? This should be correct. Like how satisfied you are with the performance of Indian batsman and bowler in World Cup T20. So he might be satisfied with the performance of batsman, but not with the performance of the bowler. So how can he answer this particular question? Then you should not assume that the respondents are, experts. So there would be any kind of respondent, maybe not that much educated, but he can be a useful respondent for your research. So jargons and scientific words, avoid using them if not necessary. Negative or double negative questions, I hardly have no money to buy a new car. No, customer is not really a visitor at service station. We don't watch movies seldom. So these are, you cannot answer these questions. Yes could be a good answer, no could be a good answer, but what to give? That is the problem with the respondent. Then avoid asking questions which are beyond the capabilities of the respondent. The example could be, what did you have for breakfast on last weekend? Do you think we really remember after a day or two that what we had in a breakfast or in lunch or even a dinner until unless you have not visited to a particular place where you where you go only very less frequently. So that is again a problematic question. False scenarios. Many countries across the globe are facing economic slowdown. Do you think our country is going through a similar economic slowdown at the moment? As many respondents may not agree that the recession is affecting their country, so they could not give this, a correct answer for this question. Multiple skills you should not use until unless you are bound to do so. Then what are the advantages of questionnaire? Generally, whenever a respondent reads something, so they try to put themselves into that situation and then only they answer a particular question. So you can say questionnaire is more or less practical in nature. Similarly, more amount of information can be collected if the respondents are available at a particular place without investing much money and much effort. Then you can even, can be carried out this research. That means the filling of the questionnaire can be carried out by the researcher by any number of people with limited effect to its validity and reliability. So even if you are taking the respondent responses of the respondents at a particular place and you're getting more responses from that particular location, so it hardly affects the reliability and the validity of the questionnaire. Then the result of the questionnaire can usually give you the answer easily and quickly because they are quantified by the researcher and they can be easily jotted down in a software, because all the statistical software are generally they work on values rather than working on string variables. Then these questionnaires can be analyzed scientifically than any other forms of research. If you're using a telephonic interview or you using a conference or a survey, you might not be able to project the response of the respondents in a more scientific way, because survey, then these telephonic conference or video conferencing, they don't have any scientific justification for how to develop these. They are just one-to-one interactions, so you can ask anything related to them. But questionnaire has some principles that you should keep in mind while designing a questionnaire. So it is much more scientific as compared to any other form of research. Then in questionnaires, generally data is quantified, means every response is given a number. So it can be used to compare two things, which is better and why. And the positivists believe that quantitative data can be used to create theory. So that is much more appropriate. Then what are the disadvantages? Pros and cons, they always go hand in hand. So the first is, my dear, if you are not meeting the individual and you're just sending him the questionnaire and he's filling that questionnaire and responding back to you, you cannot find his emotions, behaviors, or feelings. So it is inadequate form of information. Then artificial creation of the researcher is used while making a questionnaire, means you're using a scale of 5. So the first is strongly disagree and it is 1, then it is disagree, it is 2. What if he is in between strongly agree or agree somewhat in between them? Then what he should write in response, although he's bound to give only 5 response? So here, quantification of research is a question. Then generally questionnaire lacks validity because you have jot down only few questions that might not be all to justify the emotions or to justify the responses of particular respondent. Then there is no way that you can tell whether the respondent is being truthful or not. Moreover, under different situations, a respondent might behave in a different way. Then there is forgetfulness of a respondent. If you ask him on Monday and try to fill a questionnaire, and on the very next day you again try to make him fill the same questionnaire, the responses might be a bit different, but that can be eradicated with the help of Cronbach alpha. We will talk about it later on. Then people read different questions differently according to their own interpretation of the question. So that is why I told you it is better to make questions simple so that each and everybody understands in the same way. Then there is imposition on the researcher that while developing a questionnaire, they should use their own decisions and assumptions, and which is not that much important because theories are there for each and every aspect or phenomena. Then what are the limitations of questionnaire? Questionnaire can be administered only on considerable amount of education. It can be only deduced, or questionnaire can only be formulated for those questions where you have certain theory or certain material to read. It cannot be used for the entire percentage of population. So that is one greatest limitation of questionnaire. And where there is something you need to find out, you need to investigate, their questionnaires might not be a good instrument to deduce the response from the respondents. Then, is my dear, when you're mailing the questionnaire, the return rate is only 10%, and it is a very slow process. First you formulate the questionnaire, then you send it, and then you wait for the respondent to give you back the responses. But this limitation has been somehow eliminated by the use of e-commerce. Like nowadays you have WhatsApp, Facebook, and many social networking sites where you can find n number of individuals that might be interested to give you his or her response. Then the third is, if the respondent misinterprets or misinterprets a question and writes his reply without asking you, so there is a very little that you can do in order to rectify it. Getting it? Although that can be done on SPSS with the help of interpolation technique or multiple imputation technique, but that cannot be eliminated 100%. So it is always written in the questionnaire that if you are not able to understand anything, ask it before making your own assumption about that question. Then the other limitations of questionnaire is usefulness of the questionnaire is more or less crystallized view. It can be simply expressed in terms of words. So why to take the responses of a respondent in terms of numbers? The second last limitation is that the success of questionnaire is still a question mark. So many people are not even aware about it. Many people are even shy to express their personal feelings and personal opinions with a stranger, or many people are even not that much reluctant to be a part of a research, especially in our country, that is in India. Then lastly, the limitation of the questionnaire is subjected to its design. If you have designed the questionnaire in a proper way, so again, if it is designed in a proper way, then also it would be directing to a particular subject. It could not ask all the responses related to all the problems pertaining in the society. So it is more or less subjective in nature. Then is, my dear, validity. What is a validity? And later on you would find another part that is called as reliability. So first we'll talk about validity. Validity tells you that there are two things: validity and reliability. The first is validity. Validity tells you whether the responses that you have taken from the field are valid enough to deduce something. मतलब दो चीजें हो सकती है, वैलिडिटी या रिलायबिलिटी. रिलायबिलिटी ये होता है कि क्या आपने वाकई में ये डेटा फील्ड में जाके कलेक्ट किया भी है, या ऐसे 1 2 3 1 2 3 भर दिया. ठीक है. अगर आपने फील्ड में जाके डेटा नहीं लिया है तो रिसर्च वैसे ही गलत है, क्योंकि वो सारे के सारे रिस्पॉन्सेस के फेक हैं, तो रिसर्च भी फेक हो गई। तो इस तरीके की रिसर्च करने का कोई मतलब कोई इंपॉर्टेंस नहीं है, इस तरीके की रिसर्च करके कोई फायदा ही नहीं है। तो दिस टाइप ऑफ रिसर्च शुड बी स्टॉप्ड इमीडिएटली। बट एक होता है कि आप फील्ड में गए हैं, आपने मेहनत करी है, आपने रिस्पॉन्सेज अपने दम पर कलेक्ट किए हैं, प्राइमरी डेटा गैदर किया है आपने यहाँ वहां भाग भाग के, बट फिर भी जो आप डिड्यूस करना चाह रहे हो रिसर्च से वो आ ही नहीं रहा है। आप फाइंड करना चाहते थे कि कौन सा इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर्स है, आपने 17-18 फैक्टर्स लिटरेचर पढ़ करके बना लिए, ठीक है। आप फील्ड में गए, आपने इंडिविजुअल से डेटा कलेक्ट करा, जब आप उसमें फैक्टर एनालिसिस रन कर रहे हो, वो डेटा को दिखा रहा है कि क्या डेटा बेकार है, इसमें तो रन ही नहीं हो सकता फैक्टर एनालिसिस, इट इज शोइंग यू अ वार्निंग, नाउ व्हाट टू डू। So that is validity. Basically, you have gathered data through a reliable source. You have actually gathered the data, but the processing or the test that you are applying on the data is not working. That is a big question mark for your validity. And why does it happen, my dear? Because whenever we collect the data, we don't normalize the data. I'll tell you in my other videos how to normalize the data with the help of SPSS, but very few people do that, or very few people even know that we need to normalize the data after collecting the data. So it is basically to test the measure what it is intended to measure. For example, you are trying to find out the interest of the respondent towards a particular product, and you have just only asked about 4 P's of marketing: product, price, place, promotion. Where is the usability or the love or affection of the respondent towards the product? So basically, validity calculates that whatever you are trying to find out, whether your questionnaire has that capability to measure it or not. So it is that degree to measure what it is intended to measure, and the concept of validity was given by Mark Smith in 1991, and Kerlinger expressed more about validity, or Kellinger was the first individual to question about validity in 1973. Are we measuring what we think we are measuring? So that could be one thing. Then, my dear, why it is necessary to specify the validity? So if your investigation is not answering the question for which you have conducted the research, then it is of no use. So rather than using appropriate measures and procedures to conduct a research, you should also focus on validity. मतलब आपने रिसर्च करी, आपने हर फिनोमिना का ध्यान दिया, लेकिन वो चीज निकल करके नहीं आई जो आप निकालना चाहते थे, तो क्या फायदा हुआ? और ये बहुत बहुत टाइम्स मैंने देखा है। क्या होता है, स्टूडेंट्स को आपने कोई रिसर्च प्रपोजल दिया, ठीक है, वो रात भर कंप्यूटर पे बैठे यहाँ वहाँ उन्होंने लिटरेचर पढ़ा, एक क्वेश्चन यहाँ से उठाया, 2 क्वेश्चन वहां से उठाया, इधर उधर से उसकी थोड़ी सी लैंग्वेज चेंज करी, अपने हिसाब से क्वेश्चन को सेट करा और पहुंच गया अगली सुबह। चलो, गाइड ने भी देखा, अप्रूव कर दिया, कहा ठीक है, दिस इज अ गुड क्वेश्चन है, गो गो टू द फील्ड। ठीक है, वो पहुंच गए फील्ड पे, पूरा उन्होंने हफ्ता लगा दिया, उसके बाद वो रिस्पॉन्सेस कलेक्ट करके आए। उसके बाद एट द एंड ऑफ द डे वो ये ढूंढते हैं कि इसमें से निकल करके क्या आया। यही होता है जब आप सिस्टमेटिकली प्रोसेस या प्रोसीजर को फॉलो नहीं करते। पहला तरीका क्या था? आपको अपने रिसर्च के ऑब्जेक्टिव्स डिजाइन करने थे कि मैंने निकालना क्या है इस रिसर्च से, और उसके बेसिस पे आपको क्वेश्चंस बनाने थे। आपने उल्टा किया, आपने पहले क्वेश्चन बना दिए, अब सोच रहे हो उसमें से निकल करके क्या आया। मैंने निकल करके तो आ जाएगा, बट वो 100% वैलिड नहीं होगा, रादर वो मिनिमम जो बेंचमार्क है वैलिडिटी का वो भी क्वालिफाई नहीं कर पाएगा। ठीक है ना? तो ये तरीका जनरली लोग अपनाते हैं, और ऐसे ही लोगों को वैलिडिटी में प्रॉब्लम आती है। जब भी आप क्वेश्चन डिजाइन करें, माय डियर, बी लॉजिकल। अपनी सोच पर मत जाओ। व्हाट आई एम ट्राइंग टू से अबाउट लॉजिकल मींस ट्राई टू सीक फॉर द लिटरेचर, ट्राई टू सीक फॉर द प्रीवियस रिसर्चेस दैट माइट आंसर योर क्वेश्चन, हाउ यू शुड फाइंड अ पर्टिकुलर थिंग। आपको बहुत तरीके मिल जाते हैं मैटर, कभी आप सोचते हो एक तरीका इसी तरीके से निकल सकता है, बट इतने सारे मेथड्स, इतने सारे प्रोसीजर होते हैं किसी भी एक चीज को डिटरमाइन करने के कि आप सोच भी नहीं सकते। research is a huge thing. Nobody can read research completely. मैं भी आज की डेट में ये कहता हूँ कि मुझे भी पूरी रिसर्च नहीं आती. आई थिंक 10 या 20% आती होगी, क्योंकि रिसर्च एक बहुत बड़ी फील्ड है, हर एरिया में यूज होती है, हर एरिना में यूज होती है, बट कौन किस तरीके से यूज कर सकता है, माय डियर, you cannot even think of. Then there are statistical procedures. अगर आप माय डियर कोफिशिएंट ऑफ कोरिलेशन लगा रहे हैं दो वेरिएबल्स के बीच में माय डियर, तो आपको पता होना चाहिए कि आउटकम क्या होगा वेरिएबल्स का. गेटिंग इट? सो you should know which statistical procedure you are using and what it would give you in return. Then my dear, what are the statistical technique that you can use? सबसे बहुत अच्छी चीज होती है वैलिडिटी डिटेक्ट करने की, माय डियर, Cronbach alpha. I'll tell you in my 5th unit that how to calculate Cronbach alpha, but and you can calculate it with the help of SPSS और Excel, दोनों में ही निकल जाता है. SPSS में डायरेक्ट ही निकल जाता है, Excel में आपको थोड़ी सी मॉडिफिकेशंस करनी होती है, बट अगेन इन Excel you can find out Cronbach alpha. So and then there is reliability analysis also in SPSS, my dear. वैलिडिटी तो होती है, वैलिडिटी का भी एक प्रोसेस है पूरा, कैसे वैलिडिटी निकाली जाती है, बट रिलायबिलिटी भी निकल जाती है उसमें. सो दैट कैन बी अगेन ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ Cronbach alpha. देन नॉर्मेलिटी टेस्ट कर सकते हो आप, जिससे पता चल जाता है whether the data is normal or not. देन होमोस्कैस्टिसिटी और हेटेरोस्कैस्टिसिटी आप डेटा की डिटेक्ट कर सकते हो बाय रनिंग बॉक्स प्लॉट. देन व्हाट आर द टाइप्स ऑफ वैलिडिटी, माय डियर? तो बेसिकली 3 तरीके की वैलिडिटी होती है. कंटेंट वैलिडिटी, जो आप लिख रहे हो क्या वो वैलिड है. क्राइटेरिया वैलिडिटी, जो क्राइटेरिया आपने सेट करे हैं, जो स्टैटिस्टिकल मेजर सेट करे हैं, जो टेस्ट आपने इसमें लगाने वाले हो अपनी रिसर्च में, क्या वो वाकई में सही है. एंड देन द थर्ड इज कंस्ट्रक्ट वैलिडिटी, जो फैक्टर्स आप यूज कर रहे हो. फॉर एग्जांपल you are trying to find out the effect of a one variable on marketing mix and you are taking into consideration only 4 P's, जबकि जिस चीज की आप वैलिडिटी डिटेक्ट कर रहे थे माय डियर वो एक सर्विस थी, तो वहां पे 4 P's की जगह 7 P's होने चाहिए. So that is basically you are using an incorrect construct. तो कंटेंट वैलिडिटी बेसिकली फेस वैलिडिटी से रिलेटेड होती है कि जो भी चीज आप पूछ रहे हो क्या वो वैलिड है और क्या रिस्पोंडेंट उसका सही रिस्पॉन्स देगा. आप ज्यादा पर्सनल इंफॉर्मेशन तो नहीं पूछ रहे हो जो छुपाएगा. अगर आपकी मैटर, देखो आपकी रिसर्च से कोई रिलेशन नहीं है किसी के फोन नंबर का या किसी की एज का, और आप जबरन उसे पूछ रहे हो मैटर, देन यू नो दैट इंडिविजुअल माइट नॉट बी 100% 100% open towards you to give you the correct response. Then criteria validity leads you to concurrent and predictive. एक चीज होती है मैडर, अगर आप फ्यूचर के बारे में कुछ प्रिडिक्ट कर रहे हो तो एक इंडिविजुअल की उस तरीके की नॉलेज होनी चाहिए कि वो फ्यूचर परसीव कर सके. एक नॉर्मल इंडिविजुअल से आप पूछोगे कि आगे चल करके आज की सिचुएशन ले ले कि इंडियन इकोनॉमी कितने टाइम में वापस उसी ट्रैक पे आ जाएगी जिस ट्रैक पे वो पहले थी बिफोर द अटैक ऑफ कोविड-19. आपको लगता है a normal individual would be the correct individual to answer this question? Not at all. Concurrent क्वेश्चन उससे पूछे जा सकते हैं कि अभी के हालात क्या हैं, तो आपको ये स्पेसिफाई करना पड़ेगा किस तरीके का रिस्पोंडेंट आपके किस तरीके का क्वेश्चन दे सकता है. दैट कम्स अंडर क्राइटेरिया वैलिडिटी. और कंस्ट्रक्ट वैलिडिटी तो होती है कोई भी क्वेश्चन बना रहे हो थ्योरी के हिसाब से बनाओ, थ्योरी से हटकर आप नहीं जा सकते वरना वैलिडिटी प्रॉब्लम्स अराइज होंगी. ओके, सो ये वही है जिसके बारे में हमने बात करी है अभी, कंटेंट, क्राइटेरिया और कंस्ट्रक्ट वैलिडिटी. देन कम्स द रिलायबिलिटी एनालिसिस, माय डियर. रिलायबिलिटी होती है माय डियर एन एबिलिटी टू क्रिएट रिप्रोड्यूसिबल रिजल्ट्स. सपोज एक सिंपल सा क्वेश्चन बताता हूँ, हम रिलायबिलिटी निकालते हैं, उसमें हम Cronbach alpha एरर फाइंड करते हैं. सपोज Cronbach alpha एरर हमेशा परसेंटेज मतलब फैक्टर्स में आता है, जैसे 0.60 आया तो इसका मतलब 60% रिलायबल है रिजल्ट. इसका मतलब क्या होता है, रिप्रोड्यूसिबल रिजल्ट समझिए. अगर किसी रिस्पोंडेंट से मैंने फिर से वो सपोज करिए हमने Cronbach alpha निकाला किसी का 0.60. now what does it means? It means 60% reliable. now what does reliable means here? अगर उसी रिस्पोंडेंट से किसी दूसरे दिन किसी दूसरे समय में फिर से यही क्वेश्चनर भरवाया जाए तो 60% या 0.6 प्रोबेबिलिटी है कि वो फिर से यही रिस्पॉन्सेस देगा हूबहू. तो there are 60% chances that the individual might give us same responses or might produce reproducible results. ठीक है, तो 60% सक्सेस रेट है क्वेश्चन का, ऐसे भी कह सकते हो आप. गेटिंग इट? सो यहाँ पे लिखा हुआ है, इट कैन नॉट बी एग्जैक्टली कैलकुलेटेड बट इट कैन बी मेजर्ड इन टर्म्स ऑफ कोरिलेशन एंड कोफिशिएंट्स. सो यहाँ पे हम एक प्रोबेबिलिटी ही निकाल रहे हैं. गेटिंग इट? सो रिलायबिलिटी इज अगेन माय डियर ऑफ फ्यू टाइप्स. दैट इज, इट कैन बी मेजर्ड इन द फॉर्म ऑफ स्टेबिलिटी. क्या आप एक टेस्ट से जो आपका रिजल्ट आ रहा है, क्या वही टेस्ट, वही रिजल्ट और टेस्ट को लगा के भी आ सकता है? ये स्टेबिलिटी डिटेक्ट करता है. अगर एक टेस्ट लगा करके आपकी नल हाइपोथेसिस सपोज कीजिए रिजेक्ट हो रही है, तो क्या बाकी मेथड्स लगा के भी वो रिजेक्ट हो रही है? कहीं ऐसा तो नहीं है किसी से फेल टू रिजेक्ट हो रही है, किसी से रिजेक्ट हो रही है? तो ये माय डायरेक्ट बायस्ड रिसर्च होती है. वैल्यूज ऊपर नीचे हो सकती हैं, लेकिन अगर एक टेस्ट से आपकी हाइपोथेसिस रिजेक्ट हो रही है तो बाकी टेस्ट से भी होनी चाहिए. ठीक है. एक होता है मैटर इंटरनल कंसिस्टेंसी. बेसिकली क्या होता है कि कभी कभी क्या होता है हमारे डेटा में ना, होमोजेनिटी या हेट्रोजेनिटी एक कंसेप्ट होता है, वो चीज आपको डिटेक्ट करनी चाहिए. क्या होता है मैटर, सेम कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स अगर आपने एक ही जगह से, एक ही लोकेलिटी से, एक ही टाइप के रिस्पॉन्सेस से, रिस्पोंडेंट से मैटर रिस्पॉन्स ले लिए हैं, कहीं ना कहीं उनके रिस्पॉन्सेस में ना सिमिलैरिटी आएगी. ठीक है. तो ये सिमिलैरिटी अगर आपको चेक करनी है तो आप एक मेथड अप्लाई करते हो, स्प्लिट हाफ मेथड. आप क्या करते हो, सपोज कीजिए आपने 500 रिस्पोंडेंट्स के रिस्पॉन्सेज लिए, आप 250 रिस्पॉन्सेज अलग ले लो और 250 अलग ले लो. टॉप 250 पर आप एक टेस्ट लगाओ, कोई भी टेस्ट लगाओ, और लास्ट के 250 पर भी सेम टेस्ट लगाओ. इन दोनों के जो रिजल्ट्स हैं वो 70% सिमिलर आने चाहिए, तभी आपका डेटा इंटरनल कंसिस्टेंस होता है, नहीं तो नहीं होता. वेरी सिंपल. सपोज आपने ऊपर के 250 पर फैक्टर एनालिसिस लगाया, तो कुछ ना कुछ फैक्टर्स तो देगा ना वो, नीचे वाले 250 पर भी वही फैक्टर एनालिसिस लगाओ, सेम फैक्टर्स आ रहे हैं तो डेटा इंटरनली कंसिस्टेंस है, नहीं तो नहीं है. देन द थर्ड इज इक्विवेलेंस. क्या होता है मैटर, जब किसी एक फिनोमिना को हम बार बार पढ़ते हैं, बार बार यू नो स्टडी करने की कोशिश करते हैं, तो ड्यू टू द चेंज इन characteristics of the respondent, due to the change in the conditions through which the respondent is going through, the result might change. Again, I'm not saying it will change, it might change. That is my dear equivalence. कि किसी भी फिनोमिना में, किसी भी कंडीशन में रिस्पोंडेंट का रिस्पॉन्स सेम रहना चाहिए, रिजिड रहना चाहिए, फर्म रहना चाहिए, तभी आपका जो रिस्पॉन्स होता है वो रिलायबल रिस्पॉन्स में माना जाता है. सो अभी यहीं तक बात करते हैं, बाकी हम नेक्स्ट स्लाइड में लेंगे. ओके, थैंक यू वेरी मच.